Cheers, everyone. Dave Brown here with the New Populist. Thank you for joining me. There was a story recently that got my attention, and perhaps you saw it as well. This destruction of a $274 million Putin spy plane in Belarus by Belarus partisans. And of course, as you imagine, the mainstream media was very happy to report this. But what caught my attention was the fact that this was allegedly done by Belarusian partisans, because there was somebody recently who in congressional testimony mentioned the fact that the U.S. State Department was in contact with the Belarus opposition. And who was this person? You guessed it, Victoria Nuland, whose, profile is getting bigger every day because people like Elon Musk and Trump have mentioned her. This is probably not attention she wants because she's been operating, not in the shadows, but operating within the State Department and not really drawing too much attention to herself. And now more and more people are realizing just how involved she is in this entire Ukraine conflict. So listen to this bit of testimony from Victoria Nuland.
Who is doing most of the on-the-ground contact work, but our Assistant Secretary for Europe and Eurasia, Karen Donfried, has been meeting with Belarusians, as has her deputy, Robin Dunnigan, at regular intervals to test whether there might be any openings there. I would not say that we've had manifest success, but also working intensively with the Belarusian opposition.
Now, one of my biggest problems with this Ukraine-Russia conflict is that people don't see the bigger picture as far as, how it started. It didn't start in February 2022. It started years beforehand. And one thing the United States does is our color revolutions, where we use NGOs, State Department, CIA, to go into a country that is close to Russia, and we start to rabble-rouse. We start to have our democracy groups work in those countries to challenge the leadership, overthrow those governments, and then have a pro-Western person be brought into power. And this keeps happening over and over again, and this is what happened in Ukraine. Victoria Nuland, on the ground, 2013, walking around for some reason, handing out bread in a very strange clip that was in Oliver Stone's documentary where he interviews Putin. And so Belarus, we have this plane blowing up. We have Victoria Nuland saying that we are in contact with the Belarus opposition. And my question is, when exactly or how long have we been in contact with the Belarus opposition? And here we have an article from July 19th, 2021. And this is 7 months before Russia invaded Ukraine. And it says, the title, on Washington visit, Belarus opposition leader asks U.S. for more help. Belarus opposition leader Svetlana, I can't pronounce that, so I'll just skip it, appealed on Monday for more help from the United States as she began a visit to Washington for meetings with top Biden administration officials this week. Belarus President Alexander Lukashenko has kept a tight grip on Belarus since 1994 and has cracked down on street protests that began over a presidential election last August that his opponents say was rigged so that he could retain power. I'll pause here for a second and say, I'm not in support or, against Alexander Lukashenko. My position is none of our business. We're going to talk about whether or not an election was fair. Well, in our own country, if you go on certain social media platforms and question the veracity of our elections, it can get you banned. So before we go around criticizing other countries for their elections, perhaps we should make sure the people in our own country are confident in the integrity of elections. So we're very hypocritical in that sense. We constantly scan the world for countries that are anti-democracy and have rigged elections, but then we pretend like we're the perfect place where these things don't happen. And of course, perhaps they happen more than we want to admit. But the article goes on and says she met with the Belarus opposition. She met with Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Undersecretary of State for Political Affairs Victoria Nuland. And so 7 months before the invasion of Ukraine by Russia, we have the United States State Department in contact with the Belarus opposition, who is in opposition to Alexander Lukashenko. We have Ukraine, which we helped in the overthrow of Yanukovych back in 2014. And of course, we can look back further to Georgia back in 2003. There was the Rose Revolution, where our friend George Soros had invested tens of millions of dollars in helping democracy groups challenge the government power there. So we look at this Russia-Ukraine conflict and we pretend it all started in February 2022, and we do not look at the actions by the CIA, by NGOs, by our State Department, in all these countries that border Russia. Our actions to destabilize their governments and help overthrow their governments, and then we wonder why Vladimir Putin might be a little paranoid and might invade Ukraine to protect the Donbass. And of course, I always ask this question: if Russia was involved in helping democracy groups in Canada, in Mexico, in Cuba, how happy would we be? Not very happy at all. Matter of fact, it wouldn't happen when the Soviets tried to go into Cuba and put missiles there. It almost started World War III, and rightfully so, by the way. That should never have been allowed. Now, one thing they don't tell you is that when they removed the missiles from Cuba, we also removed missiles from, I think, Turkey to make it even exchange. Although we hid that from the general public for several years because, of course, the United States can never admit that we have to make compromises. No. The narrative was, we said, get these missiles out right now. And then Russia backed down, or the Soviet Union backed down. Not really. We made some compromises too. And with this conflict here in Ukraine, if we want it to end, we also have to make compromises. If we do not, it spirals out of control. And perhaps one day we're looking at World War III, where we all get incinerated. Good times, right? So, again, the point of this video, we got to stop messing with these countries and undermining them, because other countries, superpowers with nuclear weapons, feel threatened and might react. We can't do things in a vacuum where there is no one else that might take exception to what we're doing. And this has been our MO for the last 50, 60 years, and it has brought us one failure after another. Yeah, we keep doing it. We keep doing it. Vietnam, Iraq, Libya, Syria, Afghanistan. Stop messing with other countries. Is that so hard? But we have crazy people in DC called neoconservatives who will look at the world as a chessboard. And if you're a pawn, good luck to you, because you're expendable. 300,000 Ukrainian soldiers dead. A million Vietnamese, 100,000 Iraqis. Just part of the game for them. And that's what's so, for someone like myself, who's not a psycho, I just can't imagine that. And we as Americans, we have to stop ignoring the bigger picture and educate ourselves to understand why we're doing what we're doing and why there's that reaction from other countries. And we're not always the good guy. We're not always the bad guy, but there's two sides to every story. And we have to start looking at that other side if we want to have some resolution and peace in the future. So hopefully we get smarter people in power who are willing to do that, but we'll see. That's it for now. Again, if you are new to the channel, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.